winter has arrived. Snowfall is heavily linked to the Christmas spirit, symbolizing a reflection on the year that's passed. But a time of merrymaking and good vibes has a darker flip side to what is advertised today. Welcome to the video Spectrums, as we explore the secret influence of the Death Star.
In the Northern Hemisphere during late December, the days are at their shortest lengths and the nights are at their longest. For those of the pagan world, this has always been the greatest time of the year to celebrate and practice the works of darkness. The pagan calendar identifies this period as the winter solstice.
Since ancient times, humanity gazed at the stars and the planets. But Saturn has more influence on modern society than you might realize, attributed to life forms with celestial powers. Let's go through a list of them, shall we? Kronos, the god of all Greek gods who ruled over the North Pole, had a bad habit of eating all of his children and also was the ruler of time, time being the main factor inevitably leading to the death of us. The face of the menace of society. The All-Father, or Odin, has traditional representations of the Grim Reaper originating from the attributes of the same god of Saturn as well. Odin was worshipped in the Nordic regions as the god of the north, while Kronos was celebrated by the ancient Greeks. But in essence, the two beings are one and the same. And guess where the origins have originated?
It was during the pre-Christian midwinter pagan celebrations of Scandinavia's Norsemen where today's Christmas traditions began. As a means of honoring the pagan sex and fertility god Yule, a 12-day celebration during the month of December was inaugurated. A large single log considered to be a phallic idol was lit on fire and kept burning for 12 days. Animal or human sacrifices were offered in the fire on each of those days. Wild, delirious reveling accompanied the daily sacrifices as drunken participants defiantly strove to make contact with spirits.
When the Cassini mission was launched towards Saturn on the 15th of October 1997, the importance of the task at hand was easy to see in the faces of the staff involved. However, out of the 453,000 images reportedly taken on the mission, the most eagerly anticipated data came from the captures of Saturn's rings. Caroline Porco was the imaging science team director at the time, and at a press conference held in 2004, 7 years after the launch, she was describing how she felt when she first saw the images of the rings.
I don't think you have to be a ring scientist to imagine what last night was for us. It was beyond description, really. It was mind-blowing. It was every adjective you could think of. I'm surprised at how surprised I am at the beauty and the clarity of these images. They are shocking to me. The spacecraft allows us a very steady platform. This machine, you turn it, you point it, and it stays there. It's like a tripod in space. Anyway, I think ring scientists are going to have a field day. Oh, thank you. Wow.
I think it's evident to see just how much Caroline Porco was moved by the images that she saw, and some of the facts that have been recorded about Saturn's rings are presumably and extraordinarily stranger than fiction.
Saturn plus the rings span about 250,000 miles, and they would fit in between the Earth and its moon. And yet, for all of its wide expanse, the rings themselves are paper thin, only about 10 feet thick. If you could scoop up all the ring particles, they would be less massive than one of Saturn's small moons named Mimas.
But that's not the strangest aspect of the rings. What's even more strange and unexplained is footage of unknown objects colliding with the rings and appearing to bounce off, as well as presumably going through the structure of the rings and then changing direction as if under its own propulsion. As with most aspects of space, science can only speculate and theorize what causes these unusual events to occur. However, the rings that Saturn possesses are not the only features that set this celestial body apart from the rest. There's also the small matter of figuring out Wagwan with the poles.
Beginning once again in Scandinavia, Santa's original incarnation was in the form of Odin. Odin would travel the sky during the winter solstice, deciding who would die and who would prosper. Most believers were frightened of this particular time of year. In England, Odin eventually evolved into Father Christmas, who, crowned with sprigs of holly, travelled the countryside getting roaring drunk as part of the Festival of Fools celebration. Frequently, he would be accompanied by a horned goat, ironically the biblical symbol of those who reject the salvation of Jesus Christ.
SOI Systems, this is contingency. SOI Systems.
Closest approach is just a little over 2 minutes away. And given that, it's probably about time for our Saturnian weather forecast.
Situated at Saturn's north pole is a storm in the shape of a hexagon. The theory of how it would have naturally manifested itself is that 6 smaller, equally sized storms, spaced at equal distances, would have formed and sustained their energy to produce this feature. Although nature has a way of finding organization out of seemingly chaotic circumstances, the cause of its formation is still unreported. Auroras have also been observed at both of Saturn's poles, which act in a similar manner to Earth's own electromagnetic field. And that's where I'll advise you to research a little deeper into the eye of the storm. But there is something about Saturn that seems to be integral with the way the world is going at a digital scale. In a series of adverts by Facebook's Meta project, Saturn of all things can be clearly seen in the background. And to add to the weird hypno-party vibe, in another shot, a hexagonal gate structure can be seen in front of a rising sun. Another motif hidden in plain sight are abstract paintings that depict what looks like a sun overlooking a pit, a pyramid, and an eclipse. Once again, Saturn appears this time front and center as a destination for a grandmother and her daughter to go into the metaverse. Oh, and also a buffalo is seen doing its best Cyclops lizard cosplay. And in the back of Mark Zuckerberg launching a Patreon, we can see a work of literature titled The Book of Symbols.
Glad you waited till our success tonight.
SOI. We're in. We're
By 270 AD, the Roman Emperor Aurelian had made it official, setting aside a 7-day period from December the 17th through the 24th, culminating in an exchange of gifts on December the 25th to celebrate the birth of the sun god. This Roman orgy to end all orgies later became known as Saturnalia, in honor of the god Saturn, the god of excess. Roman soldiers invading Britain brought with them their pagan orgiastic traditions. Upon taking root in England, Saturnalia became known as the Festival of Fools, reigned over by the Lord of Misrule. By the 4th century, the influential government-sanctioned Church of Rome, unable to outlaw the growing number of pagan practices, chose instead to adopt them into their so-called official Christianity. The Church believed this would attract more pagans to their fold. Up until this time, the birthday of Jesus Christ, the Jewish Messiah, had not been celebrated at all. Ignoring scriptures, however, indicating that the birth probably did not occur during the winter, the Church nevertheless confused biblical history and made Jesus' birthday coincide with the pagan god Mithra. The birth date of the sun god had now become the birth date of the Son of God.
Our world is run with symbols and frequencies, suggesting that we live our lives with one eye open. But there is only one right way to live, and is following Jesus Christ and the rainbow of God. Happy holidays, Spectrums, and God bless you.